let me jump right in. I did not enjoy this movie. That isn't to say that it was absolutely terrible or that all parts of it are bad. There are definitely some good things going for it. Before we talk about that though, I just want to mention that I tried as hard as possible to separate it from the source material. I tried as hard as I could to just keep it separate, but I couldn't. Anyways, the casting is a hit or miss. When it hits. Like Sota Fukushi as Ichigo is perfect. Ryo Yoshizawa as Uryu, Yu Koyanagi as Chad, and Saichi Tanabe as Urahara are perfect. Arina Mano as Orihime is almost perfect. They really just needed to dye her hair for character accuracy. And on the other hand, you have Karin and Yuzu. Like, just look at this. Awful casting. Then there's the soundtrack. And don't get me wrong, none of the songs in the movie are terrible. They just don't feel like Bleach songs. And the lack of Ichigo's theme song number 1 is so painful. No, I don't expect them to play it for every fight, but there were like 2 perfect moments that just didn't feel like Bleach because they didn't play it. The CG isn't bad as far as hollows are concerned. They use lighting and colors extremely well to hide the rough parts of the CG. For example, when Crayon Fisher is on screen, there's typically a green tint to the screen that causes him to blend a bit better. And then you have the VFX from this scene, and it just looks awful. Pretty much all that VFX look awful. The fighting is another hit or miss. When they are fighting against a CG creature, it's really obvious that they aren't really fighting anything there. The people versus people fights happen to be pretty good though. They have decent enough choreography to make it look nice, but worst of all is how they destroyed the Agent of the Shinigami arc. From the way too heavy focus on Grand Fisher to characters having knowledge of things they didn't in the source material, it just hurt. Like, why would a captain, much less Byakuya, give a shit about Grand Fisher? Why did they force Renji and Byakuya into the story so early? It took away a lot of their threat. Instead of just showing up and fucking shit up, they show up multiple times and just negotiate. Then we have Uryu knowing that Urahara is an ex-Soul Reaper and referring Ichigo to him. Like, why? Why does Uryu know about Urahara? It hasn't shown they've had any kind of interaction. The contest between Ichigo and Uryu was literally a fart in the wind, and talking about farts in the wind, don't get me started on Orihime and Chad literally doing nothing. I would barely recognize them as Ichigo's friends if I didn't read the source material. And that's it. That's the main problem with most live-action adaptations. They try to cram so much information into such a limited time that it just becomes a jumble of ideas that were in the source material. This cramming of information takes away from the dramatic flair of special moments. It takes away from character and world building. It takes away from the special moments that make an anime so great. Great example from this movie, Byakuya drawing his sword on Ichigo. A character building point based on Ichigo's growth that spanned from this arc into Soul Society. Byakuya not drawing his sword here and then drawing it later seems like such a small detail, but it's so important to showing how much Ichigo has grown and how much the respect that Byakuya gives Ichigo has grown. Not only did Byakuya in this movie not take Ichigo down in one hit after fighting Grand Fisher and Renji back to back, but it took him 3 hits. 3. At least with the live action Death Note, you could tell they were trying to do something different and make the story their own. It doesn't necessarily improve the quality of the movie, but I'd say it makes it a hell of a lot better. On that note though, I'll stop ranting. Next, we are actually going to talk about the live action Death Note movie. I'm planning on, going down the list and hitting on some of these I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I'm going to talk about live action movies. From Death Note to Ghost in the Shell to Battle Angel Alita. And I may introduce some shows in there like, not Rurouni Kenshin. That's a movie that I definitely do want to talk about because I did watch that and it was absolutely amazing. But shows like Home Sweet Home and Cowboy Bebop. Oh,